Wes Kailas, Minas Namo Isti Andias, Ho Farizethu. Hello, my name is Andy. How are you? Let's talk about the Proto Germanic language.
Fiudiskas, Fiudisko Tungo.
Proto Germanic is the reconstructed common ancestor of all Germanic languages, from Gothic, Old Norse, Old English, Old High German, Old Saxon, Old Frisian, and their descendants, and is itself a daughter branch of Proto Indo-European. No text survives in it. Every reconstructed form carries an asterisk to signal inferred or not directly attested, recovered through the comparative method by systematically lining up regular sound correspondences across the daughter languages. 3 developments define Germanic as a branch. First is Grimm's law, the first Germanic sound shift, reorganized the entire Proto-Indo-European stop system. Voiceless stops became fricatives, from pa to fa, ta to tha, ka to ha. So Proto-Indo-European pods became Proto-Germanic hots or foot. Voice stops became voiceless, from da to ta, giving Proto-Indo-European decuum to Proto-Germanic tehun, and voiced aspirates collapsed into plain-voiced stops or fricatives. Second, Verner's law explained the apparent exceptions. Fricatives went voiced when the preceding pi syllable had been unstressed, a discovery that vindicated the principle that sound change is perfectly regular. Third, stress was fixed permanently on the first syllable, flattening the mobile Proto-Indo-European pitch accents and triggering the long-term erosion of unstressed endings that would eventually reshape Germanic morphology for centuries. Beyond these, Proto-Germanic merged Proto-Indo-European o and a into a single a, created an entirely new weak dental preterite, the d and t past tense, the ancestor of English ed, and developed a firm strong weak adjective distinction. Early Germanic words borrowed into Finnic, such as kuningas or king and rengas or ring, kept their original sounds. This shows that Grimm's law had already occurred before Germanic-Finnic contact, helping linguists date Proto-Germanic. The ultimate origin of Proto-Germanic lies in the spread of Proto-Indo-European speech out of the Pontic-Caspian steppe, the Yamnaya horizon, roughly 3000 to 2500 BCE, carried into northern Europe, most plausibly by the corded ware culture, from 2900 to 2350 BCE, which brought a massive influx of steppe ancestry into Scandinavia and the North German plain visible in ancient DNA. Over the following millennium, in the milieu of the Nordic Bronze Age, from 1700 to 500 BCE, of southern Scandinavia and northern Germany, the long incubation of what would become Proto-Germanic unfolded, a period in which the community had no local copper or tin, and dependent entirely on long-distance trade for its brilliant bronze metalwork, evidenced by spectacular finds like the Trundholm Sun Chariot and the ship-filled rock arts of the period. Grimm's law and Verner's law are conventionally placed in the mid to late 2nd and early 1st millennium BCE, resolving into a coherent Proto-Germanic proper roughly between 500 BCE and 1 CE. The leading archaeological candidates for the speech community of this period is the Jastorf culture of 600 to 1 BCE of the Lower Elbe, Schleswig-Holstein, and Jutland, an iron-using, notably modest and egalitarian society of cremation urn-filled burials, geographically positioned exactly where linguists and loanword geography predict the homeland, southern Scandinavia plus the North German plain. A striking complication is the substrate hypothesis. Roughly a third of core Germanic vocabulary, words for the sea, ship, certain tools, plants and animals, carries no secure Indo-European etymology. Leading scholars, such as Ruus Gronen, to argue that incoming Indo-European speakers absorbs an earlier non-Indo-European farming population whose lost language left this deep lexical imprint. By the Roman Iron Age, from 1 to 400 CE, the Germanic language had begun to divide into East Germanic, which later developed into Gothic, and Northwest Germanic, which later splits into North Germanic, the ancestor of the Scandinavian languages, and West Germanic, the ancestor of English, German, Dutch, and related languages, with Julius Caesar marking the Rhine as the Gaul-Germania frontier by 50 BCE, Tacitus providing the first rich ethnographic accounts in 98 CE, and the earliest Elder Futhark runic inscriptions appearing around 150 to 200 CE, already attesting daughter stage language, not the proto-language itself. The Proto-Germanic world was a rural, kin-based society of free farming households living in a small hamlets rather than towns or states. Families lived on timber longhouses that housed both people and cattle under one roof, surrounded by fenced yards and farm buildings. Society was hierarchical but not highly centralized. Most people were free farmers, or frios, above whom stood chieftains or kuningos, and a cattle-owning aristocracy, while dependents and slaves, throgilos, occupied the lowest rank. Warrior elites formed loyal war bands, or druchtis, bound to a lord through gifts, service, and personal loyalty. Political authority rested largely with the assembly, or thingo, of freemen, which settled laws, disputes, and decisions about war. Oaths, or oithos, helped maintain social cohesion and trust. Women played a central economic role through household management, textile production, and dairying, and some also held respected ritual and prophetic functions, reflected in figures such as Weleda and later vulva tradition. Material culture was based on wool, linen, leather, and iron. Clothing consisted of tunics, cloaks, trousers, or leggings for men, and long brooched dresses for women. Neck rings and arm rings served not only as jewelry, but also as portable stores of wealth. Proto-Germanic society was built on a mixed farming and herding economy in which barley was the main crop for bread, porridge, and ale. But cattle formed the true basis of wealth, status, and power, reflected in the word fehu, meaning both livestock and wealth. Social life revolved around communal feasting with ale and mead, especially during midwinter celebrations, such as the reconstructed Yehulo or Yule, where gifts, oaths, and loyalty between leaders and followers were reinforced. Their technology included iron smelting from bog iron, advanced woodworking, wagons, and increasingly sophisticated ships, evolving from the stone plank yachtspring boats to the iron-riveted, clinker-built Nudam boats, highlighting a strongly maritime culture. Religion centered on major pan-Germanic gods such as Tiwas, Wodanos, Thunoros, and Frio, whose importance is preserved in the weekday names of Germanic languages, while worship took place mainly in sacred groves and open-air sanctuaries. Archaeological finds such as war booty deposits in bogs and preserved bog bodies confirm large-scale ritual sacrifice. Warfare was organized through kin groups and sworn war bands, with the spear as the common weapon, and raiding, feuding, and vengeance embedded in social structure. Proto-Germanic communities were also connected to neighboring cultures through trade and contact. Celtic influence contributed words for rulership and iron. Roman contact introduced terms related to wine, trade, and roads, and long-standing interaction with the Finnic peoples, especially through the Baltic Ember trade, left linguistic evidence that helps pinpoint the time and place of Proto-Germanic. In the next parts, let's listen to the beautiful sounds of their language. Numbers.
Einas, Eino, Eina, Dwy, Dwars, Dwar, Threes, Threos, Threo, Feddwar, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Vocabulary.
Sunno, meno, sterno, ertho, wator, for, windows, regno, snaiwas, isa, bergas, stainas, saivis, straumas, walthus, lando, chiminas, achuo, flodus, bagmas, chawda, auro, auso, naso, mwynthos, banths, dongon, chandus, chwot, armas, knewa, cherto, blotha, baina, fleiski, chwdis, chera, lika, chailas, seukas, father, atto, mother, brother, swester, sonus, dochter, barna, nefo, snuzo, svechuras, ek, ik, mek, minas, wies, uns, unseras, whip, thu, fek, finas, use, isvis, isveras, yut, is, itat, it, si, is, sek, sinas, hundas, uifas, dero, fuchsas, chaso, chravnas, fuglas, fiskas, kuus, ukso, skepa, suina, reits, chano, echwas, wormis, moes, arnus, arano, bian, gertas, dagas, nacht, jera, wintrus, sumaras, menoths, morganas, ewanths, tiidis, uchto, ainelif, tualif, hunda, thusundi, furistas, frumo, antheras, thrivio, halbas, allas, managas, vesana, beuna, javiana, revana, demana, sejuana, sauriana, quethana, vitana, kunnana, etana, drinkana, slepana, chausiana, makona, dona, werthana, workiana, wiljana, standana, rangana, quemana, farana, riidana, fleugana, fleutana, swimmana, rinnana, stigana, fallana, koningas, feudo, druchtinas, frions, rastis, fernas, veras, viva, rumo, mans, charjas, thinga, ewo, sivio, seris, skattas, frias, skalkas, domas, chusa, gardas, durus, waganas, skipa, box, neslo, chamaras, saksa, aquisi, speru, borda, segla, rothra, trugas, fata, stolas, bankis, chringas, kambas, chlaivas, melux, matis, salta, kurna, huetja, akras, sevis, aplas, chnuts, grasa, fehu, nauta, aluth, meduj, smerwa, aia, biogas, ariana, hunaga, rodas, uvilas, mikilas, smallas, langas, braidas, niujas, aldas, jungas, nerchas, ferrai, jaujas, deupas, fullas, huitas, svartas, Raudas, Gronias, Warmas, Kaldas, Warda, Santhas, Hugis, Mothas, Saiwalo, Geistas, Dauthus, Liva, Rawa, Furchta, Sorgo, Anstis, Aldra, Machtis, Wison, Galovo, Wenis, Skamo, Fankas, Sundio.
Sample text.
Saurandilas hafði nästan sina in thamma vagnahusai. Summa sinsai aldanis vai utflugun. Weldun matti sakjana hura sino barno. Ja hulelo tun tho lutilo no aino. After huiloi quimithi saurandilas sa father. After haima. What worth here? Quififisa. Hwas deve isris laitho. Barno. Use allos youth brohido. O atto quethanfi. Sumas mikilas furisas nunechwaquam. Sawas grimmas yach agis likas anasioni. Staro de un unsera nesta. Mith sinoimas nikiloimas augammas. Thaton sua brohide. Sua quififi sa father. Huadre gelansa. Wela quethanfi. Jaina na wega gegansa nither. Bivith. Quififi sa father. Ek gango imafter. Ne sorgothnu barno. Ek juanjoina. San fluithi sa fraima. Fan sa umbi jaina na buganu quimithi. Istifet deusa fathar gangithi. Ak saurandilas ne furchithi. Sa sitithi nither anafat deusas baka. Ja hubigin mithi inna skaldana. Hui quimizi thuat minnam mahusai. Quififisa. Ja hubrohizi minno barno. Fat deusane karathithas. Ja gangithi hurth. Bifas salutilas inanoch grimmizo skildithi. Ne skalts thu her wesona. Saljoek thus. Jach javai thu aftra quimizi. Quififisa. Wela fansichuizi thu. Ne wiljuek that santhliko zona. Quififisa. Jach spedistan chafithi einana fotun sinana. Akek brekau thina baka. Mithmina mafoti in aina huiloi. San fliugithi sa aftra in sina nesta. Sae barno, quisifisa, ek laizido thana, ne quimithi sa aftra ne juanne.
The Lord's Prayer.
Atto unseras, thu in chiminamas, wichnai namo thina, quemai ricia thina, werthai vilio thinas, sue in chiminai, sue ana erthoi. Chlaiva unserano, fano dagalicano, revunsis himma dagai, jach afletunsis, unseros skuldins. Swaswe jach huis afletamas, unseraimas skullammas, jach ne bringais uns in freisto, ak lausi uns auf thamma ubilin. Swasiai.